I'm Jaclyn.
And I'm Courtney, and this is Caffeinated Crimes.
Sorry to just keep giving you guys the same intro every week, but, we're still quarantined, so we still got pretty much the same stuff going on as we did last week, so...
Yeah, I'm still in my house. I'm still with Kevin. I still have 2 cats. That's about it.
Yep, still doing the same thing. Courtney, I'm tired today because... So last night I kept waking up and I kept hearing this, beeping sound. Uh-huh. Now, in my house, since we moved in, there's been this other beeping sound. And every, couple of weeks at, 2 a.m., it'll, beep twice. And then there's, this female automated voice that says something. And we can't figure out what it is or where it's coming from. Mm-hmm. So, which I don't like that because it freaks me out.
Yeah, that freaked me out. So...
Last night, I wake Andrew up again, as I always do when I hear these sounds in the middle of the night. But it's a different beeping. And it's not like a wah, wah. It's like a boop, boop. And so, but it's not consistent. So it's not like the other one is like, bam, bam, here's the voice every time. This one was like, boop, 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 boop. And it was different every time.
Yeah.
And so I'm laying here and I'm like, is someone trying to reach me through Morse code? What is happening?
Somebody is trapped in my creepy basement and they're Morse coding.
That is my thought. That is my thought. So I didn't sleep very much last night because, it keeps, so I've been awake for, 3 hours now. And so since I've been awake, I've heard it go off at about every 5 minutes. So clearly it was doing that all night long. And so I'm pretty sure, after doing some exploring around the house this morning, that it's Andrew's speakers to his computer, because Andrew's now going to be working from home starting tomorrow. So he got his whole, work set up and everything. So we had to, move some stuff around, and we have really weird outlets because my house was built in 1910, and it's just a crazy setup, and so we have these really weird outlets, and so I think something's going on with his speaker, and it's, shorting out or something.
That would make sense.
But it's just so weird, because it's not just a boop, boop, it's it's different every time, and it's boop, 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 boop. And then it's different, and I'm like, what are you telling me? I don't know. I don't know Morse code, person trapped in the basement. I don't know how to help.
The robots are trying to tell us how to end COVID-19.
But Jaclyn doesn't know Morse code to figure it out, so I'm sorry, guys. I'm failing you.
That's really funny.
So.
I'm pretty tired, too, because there was this, massive storm last night. And thunder, shook my apartment. And I was like, what's happening? And then it was you know how people are always like, oh, it was sheets of rain. And you're always like, yeah, whatever. No, this was literal just sheets of rain. It was just constant rain, constant lightning. And I couldn't go to sleep. And Kevin was like, just go back to sleep. And I was like, no, I can't go back to sleep until I know a tornado or a tree's not about to come through the apartment.
So. Yeah, it's really hard to sleep through storms like that.
Yeah, I don't really like storms either. I don't like loud noises.
Yes.
Unexpected loud noises, like thunder or, things coming crashing down, things that I'm not expecting.
Yeah.
At a rock concert, I'm fine. But but things like that.
When you don't know what's coming.
Yeah, so yeah. I did eventually go back to sleep, but...
Well, I kept, like I said, trying to wake Andrew up because I'm like, because my first thought was that he, left something, playing on his computer, but that doesn't even make sense because yesterday we were trying to watch Tiger King on his computer because Netflix will no longer work on my Apple TV, thanks, Apple, and so we were going to watch it on his computer, but he said that his speakers don't work, that he has to use his headphones when he's on his computer, so then we ended up watching it on my laptop at the kitchen table. Anyway, so we were really invested in watching the show, so we were determined to make it work. But, so now that I'm awake, I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense that the sound will be coming from his computer, but... I kept trying to wake him up to be like, I need you, it's something of yours, I need you to find out what it is. But he sleeps through everything, so I'm sure when he finally wakes up today, he's going to have no idea what I'm talking about.
He's going to be like, what's that beeping noise?
Yeah.
Do you hear that beeping noise?
Yeah, exactly.
So, sort of in fashion of what we did with Jaclyn's episode with Sasha, we're going to do that with me. So, this is my little espressode. So this was a recommendation from my coworker, Caitlin.
Hi, Caitlin.
Shout out, Caitlin, because I know you listen. So this was kind of from where she's from. And so she's like, no one's ever done a podcast on it. And so I was like, okay, we will. So I did a bunch of the research. So I was like, I'll just take this one over and tell you a story.
Yes, because we intended on doing it together, but then Courtney had already gone down the rabbit hole before I even got started. So she's like, let me just take this one. I'm like, you got it.
Happens sometimes.
Yes.
So for this episode, I did get a lot of information from a See No Evil Investigation Discovery episode. It's season 4, episode 14, called Rhonda's Gone. I also got information from some news articles, including NBC News and some local news stations like WVLT and WATE. If you're from like around Knoxville, you know what those are. If not, it's just like your local news station. So, and I also got information. There was a Facebook page created by Rhonda's first cousin, Scott Kitts, called The Search for Rhonda Kitts Daugherty, LaFollette, Tennessee. So I also got information from there. On December 2nd, 2014, Charles Daugherty arrives home to his house in LaFollette, Tennessee at 6 p.m. to find that his wife, Rhonda, is not home. He finds it very strange, but he also notices the back door is wide open with no signs of forced entry or a struggle within the house. All of her belongings, including her cell phone, her purse, her keys, and her vehicle, were at home, but Rhonda is nowhere to be found. So Charles calls 911 at 6:30 to report her missing, and an investigation ensues to try and find Rhonda.
Wait, what time did he get home again?
6 p.m.
And he calls at 6:30?
Yes.
Okay.
So I do think he also called Rhonda's mom.
Okay.
I'll kind of get into this because Rhonda's dad was sick.
Gotcha.
And so she usually went over there, and so I think he kind of tried to find her a little bit.
Okay, gotcha. Didn't know if it was suspicious that he had waited. I don't know anything about this story, guys, so I'm listening brand new too. So I just wanted to
I mean, we always suspect the husband first, so.
Yes, exactly. Sorry, guys.
So Rhonda Daugherty was a 49-year-old mother of 3 who worked as a beautician and volunteered at her church. Charles worked in construction, and him and Rhonda had been married for 34 years. So in like the investigation discovery episode, their daughter Hannah, she says they have like an amazing marriage. It's kind of like the love you see in movies.
No, I was just doing the math in my head, and I was like, wow, like what age did they get married? And I was like, oh, that's probably the same age I got married. Gotcha.
Yeah, they were like high school sweethearts. And her oldest daughter was expecting her first child, like within the upcoming weeks. And she was very, very excited to be a grandmother. Her mom, Nancy, said, Rhonda was just the type of person to make you smile. She'd help anyone. She was a joy to be around. And she saw her the day before she went missing. So kind of as I mentioned, her father, Boyd, was battling cancer. Mm-hmm. So Rhonda would come over a lot, and Nancy said, like, Rhonda completely helped her through this whole time, because, you know, it's super rough when a loved one is sick. And so Rhonda just did everything she could to come and help out. So on the day of December 2nd, Rhonda had gotten up, and she made Charles's lunch like she usually did. She'd planned to have like a full day of errands. And so when Charles comes home and sees she isn't there, it's pretty suspicious because there's an untouched cup of coffee.
Oh.
So she'd like made a cup of coffee and it's still sitting there. Her cell phone's on the counter. So after he calls 911, the police head on over. And they call Nancy too, and she was like, I just knew something was off, you know. Rhonda usually calls to check around noon and calls and says, you know, how are things going? She hadn't, and that was very rare for her not to call. And she said Rhonda was also not the type to leave her door unlocked. Mm-hmm. And she wouldn't let someone, she wouldn't unlock it unless she knew the person, which, good Murderino fashion.
Yes, absolutely.
Like, keep your door locked, even if you're home. Don't let people in.
Yes. That's the first thing I do when I shut my door walking inside is I deadbolt it.
Yeah.
Automatically.
Yeah, and that's what Rhonda did.
I don't care if I'm going to have to go back outside in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I deadbolt it and I'll unlock it and relock it.
Yeah. And so that's, you know, she would do that too. So her mom kind of knew, like, that's kind of weird. Like, she wouldn't just leave the back door wide open.
Yeah. And the untouched cup of coffee is very suspicious. Like, if anyone ever arrives at my house and I'm gone and there's a cup of coffee that's full, I was kidnapped. Like,
yeah.
I don't know what else would make me leave a cup of coffee untouched. So,
yeah. And especially, like, even if you didn't want it, like, you wouldn't just leave it.
Yeah.
Like, you wouldn't just leave it sitting on the counter. So, They called in a scent tracking dog, and it did pick up her scent, but it lost it at the sidewalk in front of their house. So they do believe Rhonda did get into a car around this location. Mm-hmm. And it was pretty late at night, like it was getting pretty dark. You know, it's winter, it gets dark at like 5:30. And so they waited until the next day, and they spent hours searching in the woods near Rhonda's home, but they came up with nothing. And so after 3 days, they really had no leads, and so they just go ahead and call in the TBI, which is the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. Mm-hmm. So Detective Brandon Elkins was assigned to the case. He does interview Charles more thoroughly, since the majority of crimes are done by family members or friends. Yes. And he's like, I was at work, you know, I work construction, I was in an area with no cell phone reception. They interview his coworkers. They confirm he was at work all day. Airtight alibi. They rule him out. So they go ahead and decide to look at bank statements. Mm-hmm. And they're like, well, let's see what her last transaction was. Yep. And it was at a local Food City. They go to look at the footage to see if there's like anything suspicious. So they do see her there, you know, checking out mm-hmm. and everything. But she seems normal, happy, just having a conversation with the cashier. No one appears to be following her. You know, she doesn't seem scared or afraid. And they even are able to watch her into the parking lot and see that she just leaves alone. No one's following her.
And what time was this?
I'm not sure. But this was, like, December 1st.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
So this was the day before.
Okay, gotcha.
She went missing. So the next day, Charles calls in with another tip because he started thinking about it. And a few weeks ago, Rhonda had got a suspicious text from a guy named Charlie. So, as I said, Rhonda volunteered a lot with her church, and this guy had texted her and said, I have a few coat donations. Will you come meet me in the church parking lot at like 2:30? So Charles and Rhonda go, and they wait, and no one shows up. So Charles is like, I guess it's just a prank. Like, I don't know why anyone would think that was funny, but who knows? So another church volunteer, his name's Lonnie Vann, he shows up, and he's like, I got the same text about Charlie. I don't know where he is. So they're like, okay, weird.
Yeah.
But, so they go on. So the detectives go and decide to see if Lonnie's home. And his wife says he isn't home. So now the detective's like, oh no, like, is this guy missing too? Like, is this some bigger conspiracy? And she's like, oh, no, don't worry. He just got a new job in Indianapolis, and so that's where he is.
Okay.
So, and while this is going on, like, the Facebook page, a lot of what I'm about to talk about, the public did not know. You know how police are, they're all hush-hush. Yep. But the community is doing, like, everything they can to try and get information on this disappearance. Like I told you, that Facebook page was started, and they're just posting any updates they have. And by December 11th, the reward is $10,000 for any information.
Wow.
Which is quite a lot for a small town, too.
Yeah. I was going to say that that area is a very small town, so people are going to be very invested in, like, finding someone that's missing from that area. You know, it's not like this huge city where people go missing all the time. Like, this is a very small town that doesn't happen there.
It's like everybody knows everybody.
Yes.
Now investigators don't have too many leads, and so they're like, well, maybe this isn't like a singular event. Maybe some other crimes were happening around the time.
Yeah.
So around the same time, I can't find an exact date, but from everything I'm seeing, it looks like December 5th.
Okay.
So an older couple were the victims of a robbery.
Okay.
So they say a large bald man forced their way into the house, robbed them at gunpoint, and he drove off in a dark gray SUV. And he said before leaving, I'm in trouble. I have to get out of town.
Oh.
So TBI releases this description to the public, hoping that this helps them get a lead. So the next day, and so this is 4 days after Rhonda's disappearance, this is like December 6th, they get a tip from a hotel clerk saying a man fitting that description has been staying there. So the hotel's about 20 miles from Rhonda's house.
Okay.
So Detective Elkins, he goes to the hotel to look at the footage from December 2nd. So there's an exterior camera, and it shows a dark gray SUV. But the license plate's unreadable because this isn't CSI. You can't always get a perfect license plate reading from an external camera.
So you were telling me when they take the picture and they say, oh, just enhance it, and then all of a sudden it's magically clear, you're telling me you can't actually do that?
You can't do that, guy.
Damn.
But he does notice on the footage there's a large bald man in a purple polo coming out of the building. And so he goes to the SUV and he's putting together these boxes. And he's like, these like cardboard boxes. And he's putting clothes from a bag into the boxes. And they're like, is this Charlie? Like, is this the guy with the coat donations? But the man never shows his face to the camera. And they said it almost felt intentional.
Okay.
And like they showed the footage like in this series. And it was seriously like he was just the whole time like walking backwards almost. Like, I don't know if that was intentional or he just walked really weird, but they don't get his face. So Elkin switches back to the interior cameras and sees this man going into his hotel room. So he's like, perfect. I'll call the hotel clerk. I'll get the guest name who was staying there. So, but they said the room was charged to an anonymous gift card, which I didn't know you could do this.
I didn't know you could rent a hotel room with a gift card.
Me either. I thought it was really weird. But they said it's going to take a little time to get the name because, yeah, it's like an anonymous gift card is like the card on file.
Like, because I know that they usually have like the extra charge or whatever for like damages and stuff. So I'm like, how do you do something like that with like a gift card? I don't know. That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, unless this is just like a huge gift card for like a bunch of money. I don't know. I was seriously shocked when they said that.
Yeah,
but
that's very weird.
So Elkins is like, all right, they got to do that. I'll just keep watching. And 14 minutes later, the man comes back out. But now he's dressed in all camo with black boots.
What the? Okay.
Yeah, so they're like, it almost looks like he was like going hunting or fishing. Like he was all decked out in camo.
Which, this is Tennessee, so it's not like weird for someone to be dressed in all camo.
I mean, you go out to your local restaurant and there's a guy dressed in all camo.
Exactly.
But on the exterior camera at 7:58, it shows him carrying a large black duffel bag to his car. But he spends a lot of time arranging the back seat. And he's spending a lot of time at the car, making like arranging it. And now Elkins is like, I'm kind of thinking this is the man who did it, and I think I'm watching him prepare his car to kidnap Rhonda.
Wow.
However, there's still no shot of the face, so he's like, I still don't know. So Elkins decides to review the footage from the night before in the lobby. And I mean, this is like a long process. Like, this guy was probably sitting in front of his computer for hours.
Oh, yeah.
So he's watching, and at 7:49, he sees a man in the lobby. So he switches to behind the clerk's view, and who does he see? Lonnie Vann. It's coming full circle. So.
Oh, man.
But Elkins is like, his wife just said he had a job in Indianapolis. Like, what's he doing at this hotel?
Wait a minute. This isn't Indianapolis.
So he keeps watching, and he checks into that same room the suspect he's been watching checks into. So Elkins is asking the maid, like, does she notice anything weird about the room?
Yeah.
And she was like, not really, but there was a large amount of hair in the sink. Like, someone had shaved their head, maybe their beard.
I mean, it is a man. Like, I know when Andrew just trims his beard, there's hair all over the damn place. So, I mean...
Oh, yeah. That's Kevin.
And his favorite time to do it, like yesterday, is right after I've, like, deep cleaned the bathroom. Like, I'm talking, like, scrubbing everything. I've washed the bath mats. I've, like, mopped the floor. And then Andrew wakes up and he's like, I should trim my beard today.
Yeah. I keep telling Kevin, I'm like, put a towel down. Put a paper towel down. Catch it.
He does. Oh. He puts the towel down and there's still hair everywhere. I don't know.
That's talent.
I love him. I do.
So, the records are back from the hotel, and it's confirmed Lonnie is the man staying in that hotel room. So, Elkins goes through the trash.
Okay, wait.
Okay, go ahead.
So, Lonnie is in addition to the fat bald man, or Lonnie is the fat bald man?
Lonnie is the fat bald man.
Okay. I was just making sure that I was on...
So, because Lonnie had hair and a beard, but he shaved it.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, he was changing... So, yeah, he was changing his appearance.
So, this Charlie guy probably doesn't exist.
Probably not, no.
Okay.
I mean, 100% doesn't.
Okay, but at this point in the story, it's probably not.
Yeah.
Okay.
So... Elkins goes through the trash at the hotel, and he discovers a Walmart receipt. So he goes to Walmart to see the footage. And this is a really fun fact they talked about, which I didn't know was a thing. So the police, when they have a Walmart receipt and they're like, I need to see footage, they can scan it, and it'll just pull up the time.
Wow.
That receipt... I thought that was super cool.
That is very cool.
And so there they see Lonnie walking in with a shopping list. He purchases boots, 2 duffel bags, gloves, hair and beard trimmers, 2 rolls of duct tape, and 3 Monster energy drinks.
I don't like where this is going.
Yeah, it's not nice.
Oh.
So, TBI is now worried that this is their man.
Yeah.
And so they put him on the top 10 suspects list, but they only tell the public it's for the armed robbery.
Okay.
And the armed robbery gets a little weird because in the documentary, they said it was just a large, bald man. But a lot of what I'm seeing in articles was that Lonnie had worked for this couple and came in and robbed them.
Okay.
Like, they knew who it was.
Gotcha.
So, I don't know if Investigation Discovery was just trying to dramatize it a bit or what, but a lot of what I'm seeing, like, they knew it was Lonnie, but
okay,
for the podcast purposes, I just kind of slipped that under the rug.
Gotcha.
So, and they do tell the family, like, we think it might be Lonnie who kidnapped Rhonda. So Charles is absolutely stunned. Lonnie was a middle school teacher and had taught his daughter.
Oh.
He'd coached his son's football team.
Oh.
And Hannah said in the episode, she was like, well, I believed if it was Lonnie, like, my mom was still alive. He's calm, gentle, he'd never do anything to hurt her.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So they visit Lonnie's brother, Mike. Mike had a small boat on Norris Lake. And so Mike had visited the boat 2 days after Rhonda's abduction and noticed it was unlocked. And he would never leave his boat unlocked, but he did know one other person had the key, which was Lonnie.
Yep.
So they look around. There's muddy footprints. There's items moved around. There's a fine gray dust on the floor, which they think might have been from anchors. And they find a receipt from Lowe's from December 2nd at 12:09 p.m. So a forensic team comes to the boat to kind of evaluate. And they go to Lowe's for footage. And there he is again, Lonnie Vann at Lowe's. So in his shopping cart are 2 cinder blocks, which is what they believe was the fine gray dust. And I also read somewhere else he purchased a large Christmas tree bag, but that's not reported everywhere.
Okay.
But they do believe he used all these items to place her body in the lake. So they start to search the lake. And like on the Facebook page, you know, like they don't know about any of this investigation. So they're like, they're searching the lake. They think Rhonda's in the lake. Like, I mean, they searched this lake for months. So they're just constantly coming back being like, still searching, nothing found.
Because it's a pretty big and deep lake, so it's...
And they said there was a lot of trees, too. Like, a lot of roots and stuff like that, which makes it really hard to search.
That makes sense.
And so they decide to try and trap Lonnie. So they used an email tracer to determine his IP. So they sent, like, an email hoping he'll open it. And obviously, Lonnie's not too smart because he's leaving evidence everywhere.
Yeah.
So Lonnie takes the bait, and it comes back to a resort in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. On December 12th, 2014, South Carolina police go and arrest him. And in his car, there are zip ties. And once they do get the evidence, they send the DNA off, which we all know, again, isn't like CSI. It can take months.
Yes.
Even for like a high priority. But it did come back with traces of Rhonda's DNA on it.
Ugh.
Yeah. So this was the evidence they needed to charge him. Still, while they were waiting for the DNA, though, like he was mostly just arrested for the robbery. And like on the Facebook page, they were like, well, we think he's probably suspicious for this crime as well because he's a crime for the robbery, but no one knows for sure. They knew, you know, the family member with the boat. And also because this story just keeps getting tragic. On January 6th, Rhonda's father, Boyd, died after his long battle with cancer.
No.
So, yeah, poor Nancy loses her husband and her daughter within a month. And Nancy did say, like, Boyd just missed Rhonda so much, and he would just cry, and that especially after Rhonda went missing, like, it was just a downhill slope. Like...
Well, yeah, because so much of a chronic illness like that does have to do with your mental state, and if you just completely give, like, not saying that you could just will it away or, you know, anything insane like that, but if all of a sudden you've lost this person who meant so much to you, it would make sense that you would deteriorate very quickly as well, so that's just so sad.
Yeah, and Nancy said it was really hard for her, too, because Rhonda, you know, was her light and help through this whole situation. So, yeah, and, you know, the public believed It was Lonnie Vann, kind of like I said. And they just kept searching Norris Lake, especially around the Sugar Hollow area. Investigators do believe his first attempt to abduct Rhonda was at the church.
Okay.
With the Charlie text.
But her husband was with her.
Her husband showed up, and so he was like, well, I can't abduct her. So they believe he told his wife about the job in Indianapolis as an alibi. So it wasn't true. He was just trying to be like, well, if they come and question her, she'll say, I'm in Indianapolis. There's my alibi.
Yep.
Doesn't really work that way, but he changes his appearance. He'd prepped his car. And so they believe that Lonnie entered the house when Charles was at work and kidnapped her from her kitchen. And based on evidence, we believe Rhonda was killed by Lonnie, then placed in the Norris Lake. And Lonnie never gave an explanation as why he did it. He never said, this is why, or anything like that.
And from what they know, there's no motive. There's no history of anything between the two of them that would possibly explain.
No, because they volunteered together at the church. And so, I mean, even if it was something, I mean, everyone on the Facebook group said Rhonda was just a wonderful person. So I can't imagine she would have done anything to him. I really don't know if Lonnie just wanted to kill someone and that's who he picked.
Or maybe he was, in love with her, and if I can't be with you, then I'm just going to kill you kind of thing. Maybe he had, this obsession, or...
Yeah.
Oh, God, that's so
and,
awful.
Lonnie Vann was indicted with the murder of Rhonda Daugherty. Her body, to this day, has still not been found.
Oh, it's terrible.
So, they've been searching and trying, and they can't really find it. And so Vann was also indicted on the robbery of the couple. And Lonnie Vann isn't exactly the most moral man either. So, as I said earlier, he was a middle school teacher at LaFollette Middle School. And in 2013, he'd taken a 13-year-old student off grounds and tried to hug and kiss her against her will.
Oh.
Yeah. And he told her, if you tell anyone, I'll kill myself.
What the hell, Lonnie? No.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So he was suspended from the school. He was charged with solicitation of a minor, sexual battery by an authority figure, tampering with evidence, and assault. There was an article from the mother of the victim, and she was kind of upset just because they were trying to group, Rhonda's murder, the robbery, and this all into one, case, basically. And she just kind of felt that, her daughter deserved her own day in court separate from those.
Absolutely.
And that kind of each victim deserved their own day in court. And like we said, this is a small town. The victim of this sexual assault knew Rhonda, and she was her Sunday school teacher.
Oh.
So the man who tried to hug and kiss you and took you off school grounds also killed your Sunday school teacher. Wow. It keeps getting more tragic.
Okay, now you said that he was suspended from school after that. So, permanently, or did he go back to teaching after that incident?
I believe permanently.
Okay.
There's not a lot of information on it. It's mostly just from, local articles, but it did happen, 2013.
Okay.
And this happened in 2014, so maybe that kind of started his spiral into crime. I don't know.
Well, you did say that he had been, Rhonda's kid's teacher, but then at the time that everything happened, his wife said that he was working in Indianapolis, so that would mean that he was not currently working at the school, so...
Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah, because I believe her kids were all, high school age and up when this happened, so...
Okay, gotcha. I was just making sure he didn't, sexually assault a 13-year-old girl, and the school was just we're going to suspend you for a week, and then you can come back.
Yeah, I think they suspended him permanently.
Okay, that's good at least.
But I don't think charges ever really came against him until this other stuff happened.
Oh. Yeah, that should have happened before.
I could be wrong. There's not a lot of information on this case.
Yeah.
But, so, on December 16th, 2015, Lonnie Vann officially pled guilty to murder, aggravated robbery, aggravated and especially aggravated kidnapping, and tampering with evidence. He was sentenced to 40 years. He is 45, so hopefully that does mean a life sentence. So Rhonda's mom, Nancy, says she's forgiven him because that's what Rhonda would have wanted. And And this broke my heart. Charles is just saying that he's just kept up at night wondering, like, why this happened and, like, what he could have done to protect her.
Oh, Charles.
Yeah, because they were high school sweethearts, and he was like, we were about to be empty nesters, and now, like, this new part in my life, I have to go on without her.
Oh. Now...
It's super tragic.
It's so tragic. In Lonnie's plea deal, did he have to, like, confess anything? Like, confess what happened or where he dumped her? Nothing. He just said, yeah, I did it. I'll go to prison.
No. Yeah, he just said, I plead guilty. I'll go to prison. Like, he hasn't said a word. Yeah. And as I said, her body's never been found, but it is believed to be in Norris Lake. The area is so deep and dense, it's hard to recover. But, I mean, local law enforcement have been searching a lot. And they were even assisted by many agencies, including the rescuers who searched for Lacey Peterson's body.
Wow.
Bringing it full circle.
It's crazy.
But, yeah, they just haven't been able to find her. And I know Charles is saying it's, like, devastating to go towards the lake and know she's there and I can't give her, like, a proper Christian burial. I can't just have that closure. Like, we can have a memorial, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
So, I know that has to be super hard. And at the end of the investigation discovery episode, Charles said this, and I thought it was kind of a good line to end on. And he said, it just really makes you appreciate the times you do have and don't take them for granted. So that is the absolutely heartbreaking story of Rhonda Daugherty.
That is so sad.
Yeah.
Her poor family. Like, for something that tragic to happen, and then the man pleads guilty but still won't give you any reason, like why I did this, where I for sure put her body so that you can, like, lay her to rest peacefully. Like,
he obviously feels like just no remorse. Like, he's just like, whatever.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
He's just like, no, it's fine. And so, has he ever... Okay, so he was sentenced in 2015, you said?
Mm-hmm.
So in, like, 5 years, he's never done any kind of interviews or...
Nope. Not that I found.
Anything. Wow.
He's just rotting away in prison like he should be.
How sad.
Yeah, and it was heartbreaking, too, because her son was also interviewed on the episode, and he was like, I'm about to get married. Like, my mom doesn't get to be at my wedding, and, you know, her first grandchild was born, and she didn't get to be any part of that, you know. And they were like, she loved babies. She was so excited. So it's absolutely heartbreaking that she was so young. I mean, 49, like... Yeah. That's like... Whenever my mom turned, like, around 50, and me and my sister were, like, old enough to be on our own, she was like, this is, like, the time of my life. Like, I'm an adult. I can go out. I can do whatever I want. Like, and Rhonda was about to have that, and it was just taken away from her because Lonnie decided to just be a real piece of shit.
And for her and her husband to get married as young as they did, and they raised their kids together, and like you said, now they're about to have that time of their life that it's just them, and Lonnie just... took that away from
them, yeah. And can't even give them the closure to understand why or where she is. It's devastating, the whole thing.
It is. And not to be, like, super morbid, but I also now wonder, like, how many bodies are in that lake. Like... Yeah,
me too.
Like, I spent so much time in that lake. Like, my aunt and uncle live right off of that lake, and they had a boat the whole time I was growing up, and so, like, they're at the lake all the time, and so that just makes me wonder, I mean, one, she's out there somewhere, we know pretty much for sure, but how many other people are in that lake? Ugh.
Yeah. It's completely, Wow. I mean, and I never really thought about it either, but it's, who knows? It's devastating.
That's so sad.
Well, now that I've bummed everyone's day out.
All right, so Courtney, what's your perk of the week?
My perk of the week is going to be my parents. Especially researching this makes me really appreciate having my mom and dad around. They're pretty awesome. Yes. They're cooler than me. I'm sure most of my friends would rather hang out with them than me.
I mean, Courtney's parents are pretty cool guys. Like,
they're the life of the party. But no, they're always super supportive and super awesome, and I don't know. I'm just happy to have, like, a mom who's also a best friend and can go to her with anything and just hang out with them. It's really nice. So I'm really appreciative to have them and everything they do for me.
Yes, your parents are amazing, and I love them as well. So,
now, Jaclyn, what's your perk of the week?
So my perk of the week, so I got to have a little bit of human interaction yesterday. So my brother-in-law and his wife and their 2 girls live really close to us, and so my brother-in-law's in the Navy, so he's not home right now, but my sister-in-law and my nieces are, and they have also been isolated for the last couple of weeks, and we've been isolated for the last couple of weeks, so we felt it was safe to be isolated together briefly. So we went over and spent the day with them yesterday, and the weather was beautiful, and it was just nice to be around family and other people. And also yesterday when I was walking around my neighborhood, I have this neighbor, this is kind of 2 perks of the week, so sorry. I have a neighbor that has like the most gorgeous, like her whole front yard is just like a garden. Like she has like a little like sidewalk that goes up to the front door, but she doesn't have a lawn. She just has a full garden. It's just like blooming with all these gorgeous flowers. And so we pass it all the time. And then yesterday, she was actually outside, like, weeding and everything. And so, from our, 15 feet away from each other, I stopped and was like, oh my gosh, like, you have the most beautiful yard. Like, I just love it. And it's like this little old lady. And she's like, thank you. And she's told me that she considers it her painting. Aww. And I just thought that was the most delightful thing that
is so beautiful.
Yes. So that was nice. And with it being spring now and everything blooming, that just makes my heart happy, and it was nice to have a little bit of human interaction yesterday as well. So that's my perk of the week.
Yeah, the social distancing has been a struggle.
It's rough, guys. It is really. I didn't realize that I was so much of an extrovert, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing, too, is I feel like I'm more, introverted than extroverted, but also, being told to sit at home, I'm like, but I want to go to Target. I want to go to the brewery. I want to go here. I want to go there.
I miss breweries.
Me too. And also, let me tell you guys, all this, eat and take out to help local businesses is going straight to my gut. But I have to be a little bit more careful.
I mean, I was thinking the other day, I'm like, man, this, government stimulus check, I'm just going to have to buy a new wardrobe from all my quarantine snacks, so,
For real?
Yeah, and with Andrew and I now working from home together in the same room, the room that does not have any air conditioning, and today is going to be, 87 degrees, so we have quite a fun adventure coming, because when we rented this house for a year and a half, unfortunately, we're like, okay, we'll just be there for one summer. We'll be at work during the day. If it's a weekend and it's super hot, we'll just go chill at a brewery or something. And now we're stuck in this hot ass house all the time. So.
And the universe is like, nope, you're going to sweat.
Yep. Well, maybe I'll sweat off all the quarantine snacks just by sitting there. I don't know.
Do some hot yoga. Usually that costs what, $50 a class, and you get it for free.
Right? Exactly. It's going to be great. So. All right, well, this was a very sad case, but you did a great job of telling it, so I appreciate it.
Thank you. I hope you guys not necessarily enjoyed it, but I hope it was interesting to you and that it was a story you hadn't heard and now you know about, and maybe hopefully one day Lonnie will say why, and maybe one day we'll find Rhonda's body.
Yes. And we really do want to try to bring you guys cases that maybe you're not as familiar with. Obviously, it'll be mixed in with the more well-known ones because people still want to hear about them, but we also do want to bring some of the lesser known or some of the local ones, like we said, that have happened close to us, because we want to make sure that their stories are being heard as well. So
yeah. And if you have any recommendations, you can email us at caffeinatedcrimespod@gmail.com or DM us on Instagram at Caffeinated Crimes Pod. We do try to respond to any DMs we get, and we really do try to listen to recommendations and do them, because we love doing this podcast, but it's also for you, and we want you to enjoy listening.
Yes, and to those of you who have sent us emails and DM'd us on Instagram, we do appreciate it, and we really like interacting with you guys, so please keep it up and let us know if you have comments, suggestions, criticism, like, we are for sure open, and we appreciate it. And I think we're going to try to set up a Patreon this week, because we asked a couple of episodes ago if that's something that you guys would be interested in, and we did actually get a few responses of people that were. So I think we're going to try to get that set up, so we'll make sure and post about that on social media. So if that's something that you're interested in doing, we'll make sure you guys have the link for that. So thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you. And go have a cup of coffee.
And please don't commit a crime.